all across the globe who never stop worrying about terror, who never can sleep at night because of rockets and missiles and bus bombs and cafe bombs. The Jew on the street anywhere, whether it be in Paris or Brooklyn, shouldn't have to worry that they will be a victim of a biased crime just because they are Jewish. We mourn together, but we are strong together.
I stand with the diversity of Brooklyn here to join in condemning the act of horrific hate that took place in Pittsburgh. And as I said earlier today, not only do we have to have laws and try and make sure that those who are perpetrators of hate are dealt with, we also need to focus on our children. Hate is something that is taught.
Our hearts are broken just like everyone else's. Attack on one person is attack on all. We all need to stand together as we do it always and be an example for the world.
We cannot have a person get a handgun carry permit in this state and they have hatred on their social media platform. So by allowing the process, the New York City Police Department should utilize, and the state apparatus should utilize a review of a social media account to make a determination if a person is mentally, emotionally, or should they be in possession of a handgun. Right now, that is not done at all. No one is examining that, and I'm going to reach out to my state electeds to ensure that we introduce that. New York State must lead from the front, not from the rear.
We know that there has been a spike in hate crime activity, anti-Semitism, racial discord in our nation. It is up to us here in Brooklyn to set the example of how we pull together during times of tragedy to raise up one another's humanity. There is no place in this nation for this type of divisive action to be taking place. We have witnessed far too frequently those who are mentally deranged, who have political motivations, having access to assault weapons, now going into places of respite to wreak havoc, not only on the individuals who are worshiping, who are in a place where they feel peace, but on all of us as terrorist activity. Today we stand up and we say we denounce wholeheartedly this type of behavior, and that it is incumbent upon us in Washington, D.C. to do all that we can to deal with the access to these types of weaponry for individuals who are unhinged. It is time for us to make sure that the rhetoric we use is not inciting individuals to take actions like the ones that we are witnessing just this week. We are here to say that we will not be intimidated by acts of violence, that we will stand together to make a change, not only for us, but for future generations to come.
But we will live with vigilance, but we will not give in, and we will live free lives as we should in the United States of America. That has given the Jewish community such a tremendous opportunity. We're going to go about our lives. We're just going to be more vigilant, but we're not going to take a back seat.
It is a crime against humanity. It is a crime against our country. We should all come together to ensure that Jewish people, they don't have to afraid to go to the synagogue to worship. We stand all together. I want to say to my Jewish brothers and sisters, to the Jewish leaders, all of us elected officials, all of us leaders in the community, we are with you. And we're going to work together to ensure that we break the cycle. Too often, that Jewish people have been victims of crime and hate crime. And today, we want to send a very strong message together. This is not acceptable, and this should stop.
These Jewish incident happened for one reason, and one reason only, because they are Jewish.
Hatred is uniting us. So I hope the lesson is, let's unite ourselves. Because when the gunman went to that synagogue, I didn't hear that he said or asked any questions about political affiliations. But also call out the rhetoric that if it's not causing it, it is definitely fueling it. We cannot call and condemn the acts without the rhetoric that's causing it.
You know, in Nazi Germany, they didn't just start killing Jews. First, they dehumanized them. And they dehumanized them to the point where people looked at Jewish people as swatting a fly, and that enabled them to kill them. What hate does is dehumanize people. Hateful rhetoric dehumanizes people to the point where a madman, like yesterday, a sick, despicable madman, was able to perpetrate the act that he did. All we can say is we need to stop on both sides of the aisle. I also applaud the Borough President's call for legislation to include, that's a wonderful idea, to include social media profiles in background checks. That's a wonderful idea. We can hopefully eliminate some of these crazy, hateful madmen from obtaining firearms that they shouldn't be having.
Yeah, well, questions?
President Adams, can you go into a little more detail about the social media aspect that you want to have included in background checks? What steps will you actually take to try to make that a reality?
Where right now the New York City Police Department for the city, the police department has a background check to determine if a person should carry a gun. The state has a different apparatus in place to determine if a person should be able to carry a gun or to purchase a gun. I want on both the city and the state level, as well as Long Island and our northern counties, to factor in a person's social media profile. That as the application is put in place, we want that profile to be examined, that is there anything on their social media profile that would determine if they are emotionally unstable, that they can't carry a gun. We can't interview psychiatrists, but many of these people are so dysfunctional that they are putting on their social media exactly what their thoughts are. And if you are in any way talking about hatred, if you are in any way talking about harming someone, you should be disqualified based on the comments you make on your social media profile.
Farrakhan used hateful speech last week on Twitter, calling Jews termites. Why isn't Twitter banning that straight-out hate speech?
And we should. There's a lot of conversation and arguments about the right of speech. I believe that we should. I believe that we should also monitor social media sites to look for buzz terminologies, that we can start doing preliminary investigations to determine. We have to start cross-collaborating, that if a person is using certain terminology on their sites, that should be enough to prevent them from being able to carry or to purchase some form of firearm. Carrying a firearm in this country is not a right, it's a privilege, and we should make sure that privilege should go to the highest people with the highest level of mental capacity.
What do you demand from Twitter, that hate speech is banned? You mentioned about the rhetoric and stuff, and a lot of politicians in Staten Island, like in the morning, said the same thing.
Yes.
But on Twitter right now, as we speak, from what I understand, there's a lot of hate speech. I mean, is there anything that Twitter can... No, it's very important. Like, politicians have to tell Twitter to take this garbage off.
Twitter, Facebook, all of them should start monitoring these sites to make sure that hate should not be used.
But they're not doing it. People have been asking, can something be done legislatively to force Twitter and Facebook to take this hate speech off?
I am. We should talk about that. We should talk about that legislation.
Farrakhan called Jews termites in a speech, and it's all over Twitter and his Facebook, and it's not being taken off. I mean, do you think that from a federal level there should be legislation to cut the hate speech? When there's direct hate towards an entire group like that, or even individuals straight out, start from there, you know, that could probably be an easier solution before they starting with the Second Amendment.
We have to reach out to the social network folks just in general, so that we can have a baseline of what we're looking at, and when it gets to hate speech and when it doesn't. I don't think that we have that discussion. Like, I think people are avoiding that discussion. Like the gentleman that shot up synagogue, I think Twitter took his down, but they took it down.
Right, it was Gab. It was a different right. They took it down right away, but it was up there for weeks.
Yeah, so
They knew about it.
We
right?
have to have a conversation about what triggers that. So I think it was what's Facebook's own.
Mark Zuckerberg.
I think he said when they were asking about the security breaches, and he said to his credit, what he was saying is that when he started Facebook, he didn't realize it would be a threat to national security. And that is a legitimate point, but we are at the point where if you become so big, you have now responsibility for the public. And I don't think we're holding these social networks accountable yet, and we definitely have to do that because this is a lot of hate going around, and we got to figure out where the benchmark is of free speech and hate that can harm someone. And it's a difficult conversation. It really is. There's a lot of people that are pushing talk, but we have to have it.
Do you think if a famous white person got up there at the pulpit and said, all black people are termites, you think that would be tolerated?
I've heard a lot of white people say a lot of black things on Twitter, and it is tolerated. And so,
but it shouldn't be.
We have to, like I said, we have to have that question about when it meets the point where it's a danger to the public. And that's a question that I don't think has been asked of these social networks in a real way. And if they want to answer it, the government has to come together and figure out some rules.
Is it something you'll be working on from the city level?
Whatever you do on the city level.
Okay.